Hey guys, welcome back to the channel McNallie Money, home of all things stock, investment, and personal finance related. Now for today's video, we've got a really exciting company in the biotech space for you. The name is Anixa Biosciences, and they've got some cutting edge treatment programs that we're going to talk about in today's presentation. Now before we get into that, please take a second, hit the like button, you guys. It's a huge help to myself and the channel. If you're not already subscribed, McNallie Money, feel free to do so. And let me know in the comment section below what you think of Anixa Biosciences, if you're currently holding shares, and how you think this company stacks up to some of the other biotech plays we've covered on the channel recently. Now with that being said, let's get into today's video. Okay guys, so that's right. Today's video, we're going to be covering Anixa Biosciences Incorporated, trades on the NASDAQ in the United States under the ticker ANIX. Now this is as of close on Wednesday, October 19th. You can see they were down just over 2% on the session, or about 11 cents to close out at $5.08. And what's interesting about this biotech play, you guys, is it's almost been moving in contrast or inverse to the greater or overall market over the last 6 months. So if we look at a 6-month graph here, since about the middle of April, Anixa has actually doubled its share price despite the macroeconomic headwinds we've seen across the broader market. And it actually hit a high of $6.15 back on September 20th. So definitely a lot of excitement in the investment community about this company. They've got really cutting edge technology that we're going to talk about in today's presentation. And this is definitely one you should have on your radar if you want exposure to the biotech sector. Now with that being said, I wanted to jump over to the company website. I'll leave a link in the video description below and give you guys a little bit more context into what it is Anixa does and a little bit of insight into their business model before we get into their investor presentation. So if you jump into the overview slide here, you can see Anixa is a biotechnology company developing a number of programs addressing cancer and infectious disease. And we'll actually get into a little bit more detail in terms of these various programs later in today's presentation. Anixa's therapeutic portfolio includes cancer immuno-therapy program, which uses a novel type of CAR T, which is known as a chimeric endocrine receptor T cell. And we've talked about T cells and the power of this technology in previous videos. So very similar technology, but this company has actually taken it a step further, as we're going to see in a second here. So they've got that technology, and in addition to that, they've actually got a COVID-19 therapeutics program that's focused on inhibiting certain viral protein functions. So really a focus on oncology and infectious diseases to treat a lot of the unmet needs and patients that are currently struggling with these various different conditions. Now they've got a wide vaccine portfolio that consists of technology focused on various different types of cancers, ranging from breast cancer all the way to ovarian cancer, and that's actually the case study we're going to look at. And the vaccine portfolio is really focused on immunization against specific retired proteins that are expressed at various different times within a person's lifespan. Now, in addition to this, Anixa is continually examining emerging technologies and opportunities in complementary fields, and that in turn is going to lead to further development and commercialization down the road. So you really are getting a diversified biotechnology company here, and that's why I'm so excited about Anixa and their portfolio of technology. Now, for those of you who've maybe missed our previous videos on CAR T technology, I wanted to give you guys a quick summary of what it is this technology or this treatment approach is all about. So for many decades, the primary approach to cancer treatment was chemotherapy and radiation. And that's probably what you think of when you think of cancer, or if you know anyone who unfortunately has suffered through some form of cancer treatment. However, over the last 25 years, they've made huge strides in this field, and they're now actually using the body's own immune system to help cure cancer. Now, as many of you probably know, each of our bodies actually contain cells that contain cancer all the time, and as our bodies continue to age, our immune system ability to actually destroy these cells decreases, and unfortunately in some people these cells become tumors, whether you're talking about liquid or solid. And those tumors in turn then develop mechanisms to suppress immune cell function. So it's actually the body acting against itself, which creates and spreads these cancerous tumors. So really what the field of immunotherapy focuses on is trying to boost the ability of our own immune cells and immune system to battle these various forms of tumors and cancers. Now, one of these approaches is known as chimeric antigen receptor T cell technology, better known by the acronym of CAR T, which we've talked about again in previous videos. And this therapy is where a patient's T cells are removed from the body. They're then modified or genetically engineered in a lab, and they're multiplied, so they increase the actual number of T cells, and then they're infused back into the patient's body. And it's these T cells that then go into the body to actually fight the patient's tumor. So you can see a quick look at how the process actually works. So they would extract these T cells, they take them to a lab, they go through an activation or transduction phase, they're then modified and then infused back into the patient's body. Now, obviously, I'm oversimplifying the process here, you guys. This is an extremely complex treatment. However, it's shown to be very effective against various different forms of cancer and really giving a lot of optimism to patients who traditionally were faced with chemotherapy or radiation. Now, in addition to their CAR T treatment or CAR T therapy, they've also got their cancer vaccine program and their COVID-19 program. So I quickly wanted to talk about the vaccine component here. So vaccines, as we know, harness the immune system to keep people safe from infectious diseases. However, most traditional vaccines attack pathogens such as viruses and bacteria, which actually come from outside the person's body. Cancer, as we just talked about, is different because it's within the person's body, and historically that's posed a challenge for cancer vaccine trials and treatments. Now, with that being said, Anixa has actually partnered up with the Cleveland Clinic, which is a world-renowned research clinic here, and they're actually developing vaccines that target various different protein cells in the patient's body to help destroy breast cancer and ovarian cancer cells. And what's so exciting about this vaccine technology is it can actually help fight cancer cells as they arise in the body and ultimately prevent tumors from forming. So super cutting edge technology here, and this vaccine approach is really quite unique and something we haven't seen with a lot of the other biotech companies we've covered on this channel. So now that we understand a little bit about what Anixa Biosciences is all about, I wanted to jump over to the investor presentation. This can be found on the company's website. You can see here, again, they're a clinical stage company collaborating with world-renowned research institutions such as the Cleveland Clinic, which we just talked about, which is currently the #2 ranked hospital in the world, to develop these first-in-class treatments and vaccines to present and treat unmet needs in oncology and infectious disease. Now, we already looked at the company's stock chart here, you guys. They're located in the biotech Bay Area in California, but in addition to that, they've got an extremely impressive balance sheet, so about $32 million of cash on hand, no debt whatsoever, which is phenomenal for any of these smaller microcap companies, and a very efficient capital structure with that low market cap, giving you the opportunity to invest or get in at the ground floor. Now, in addition to that, they have very low overhead or operating expenditures. They've received grants from the government, so a $6.2 million government fund for their breast cancer vaccine, which means their overhead or their operating costs are very low compared to other biotech companies in this space, which in turn means they have a very efficient or low cash burn profile. And again, that's something great to see with these smaller companies because it means they're well financed and you're not going to have to worry about further dilution, capital raises, or issuing of debt in the immediate future. And that again is one of the key differentiators here compared to a lot of the other organizations in this space. So no debt, healthy amount of cash on hand, and a very slow cash burn profile. Now that's really a perfect segue to this slide here, which talks about some of the key investment highlights. So you can see here the capital light business model, which is reliant on the partnering of all laboratory operations with those world-class research centers and iconic academic institutes like the Cleveland Clinic. No large fixed cost expenses or build outs because they're able to actually use these existing research facilities. And in turn, that means a modest rate of funding for each program due to a lot of these offsets. Now, we already talked about some of their leading therapeutic and vaccine candidates, which again, we're going to look at in more detail next up here, focused on breast and ovarian cancer, which are unfortunately two of the higher value categories in the overall cancer treatment landscape. And they've got 2 programs that are currently in phase 1 clinical trials. We're going to look at a pipeline slide in a couple of seconds here. So holistically, these clinical programs represent a multi-billion-dollar opportunity, and that's why this is such a high growth and exciting sector to operate in. Now, as you saw in the last slide, they have a strong cash position, no debt, which we talked about, which means they have a 4 to 5 year cash runway, which should give you a lot of confidence as an investor or potential investor in this company. And we talked about that slow or low annual cash burn, which has averaged about $5 million since 2017. Now this slide here does a good job of really elaborating on that low-cost business model. So you can see they're focused on that in-license technology platform. And because they're able to leverage existing infrastructure and the medical facilities or research facilities of their partners, again, they don't have to invest a lot of capital to build out these locations. That in turn allows them to maintain that low overhead and slow cash burn we talked about, and allows for multiple projects to be on the go at the same time. And then at the bottom here, you can see they talk about their out-license program to other pharma companies for late-stage clinical development and commercialization of these platforms. So I should point out the difference between in-license and out-license. Really, outward licensing involves selling the product itself, while inward licensing involves selling the company as a partner. So you can see in-licensing is focused on the actual partner platforms, while out-licensing is focused on the commercialization and driving revenue of the actual products or technology. And again, some of the key collaborators, you can see Cleveland Clinic, the Department of Defense, National Cancer Institute, the WinStar Institute, and Moffitt Cancer Center, which are some of the biggest and most well-renowned players in this sector. And here you can see their various different programs, 4 in total, focused on oncology and infectious disease, which we talked about, and the various different partners for each program. So the breast cancer vaccine, ovarian cancer vaccine, those are both supported by the Cleveland Clinic, in addition to the Department of Defense and the National Cancer Institute. You can see the breast cancer vaccine program is the one that received that $6.2 million grant from the Department of Defense to fund the preclinical work and 2 phase 1 clinical trials. In both of these vaccine programs, they've got a worldwide license, and the Cleveland Clinic is collaborating on the IND or investigational new drug and clinical trials for both of these vaccine programs. Now in the bottom left here, you can see their CAR-T cancer immunotherapy program, which we talked about in partnership with the Moffitt Cancer Center and the WinStar Institute. Again, focused on developing a worldwide license and furthering the research into that chimeric endocrine receptor T cell, which we discussed in today's intro. And last but not least, they've got their focus on COVID-19 therapeutics, which is a shelf-stable orally administered pill, which is another combination or partner program with Molgeni. And if we jump back to the company website, you can see a visual of their product pipeline here. So they've got their breast cancer and ovarian cancer vaccines, which are currently in phase 1 and preclinical trials or stages respectively. They've got their CAR-T technology for ovarian cancer, which again is in phase 1 clinical trials, and their CAR-T program, which is focused on other forms of solid tumors, which is currently in the discovery stage. And that's where you'll actually find the COVID-19 antiviral program, as well as in that discovery moving into preclinical. So again, a diversified portfolio of technology here at various different stages in terms of the clinical trial development. Now the program I wanted to take a closer look at or double click on here is actually their ovarian cancer CAR-T program. And what's interesting about Anixa is they're the only company that's destroyed solid tumor growth using their CAR-T program or CAR-T technology in trials. Now as a reminder, their ovarian cancer CAR-T program is in phase 1 clinical trials, and you can see that conventional CAR-T therapy has not worked clinically to address solid tumors. And this is really the differentiator here, or the key breakthrough that we see from Anixa. So they've got a novel or new technology for making CAR-T work in multiple solid tumors, beginning with ovarian cancer. And as we just mentioned, they're an industry leader in this space. And this represents a multi-billion-dollar opportunity and a tremendous platform to open up big pharmaceutical deals down the road. And they then go on to give an in-depth review of how this technology works and how it's differentiated from some other CAR-T programs, which you can see on the right here. So Anixa's CAR-T program for ovarian cancer focuses on FSHR-mediated CAR-T technology. That stands for follicle stimulating hormone receptors, actually allowing or engineering T cells with FSH to recognize and kill cells with this FSHR protein on the surface. So you can see on the right a visualization of this process in action. This technology really seeks to starve or shrink the tumor, which in turn prohibits growth or eliminates the tumor's chance of nourishing itself. And you can see they then talk about this exclusive worldwide license from the WinStar Institute and the belief that this unique approach will work in solid tumors, especially ovarian cancer, where other treatments or technologies have failed. And you can see they actually treated their first patient in August of this year, and they're currently showing or exhibiting no major safety concerns to date. So really interesting and cutting edge technology here. And again, one of the ways Anixa has really differentiated itself from other players in the biotech space. And you can actually see on this slide here, ovarian cancer is the 6th most common cancer in the world and one of the most aggressive reproductive cancers among women. Unfortunately, they only diagnose most ovarian cancer in late stage, either 3 or 4, due to the way the symptoms present themselves and the lack of screening. And that ultimately means the 5-year survival rate for stage 1 ovarian cancer is over 80%. However, because they often identify this in late stage, the stage 4 survival rate is only 20%. And with over 200,000 women around the world being diagnosed with ovarian cancer each year, this represents a huge opportunity to make a meaningful impact to hundreds of thousands of people's lives and represents a huge revenue opportunity or market for Anixa. Now to close things out here, I wanted to jump over to the recent news or press releases because this CAR-T technology really is starting to gain a ton of attention, you guys here. So you can see back September 12th, Anixa Biosciences ovarian cancer CAR-T therapy to be presented at the Rivkin Center and American Association of Cancer Research. So this event took place on Wednesday, September 28th, a major platform to showcase and highlight this technology. And then if we fast forward to October 10th here, you can see they're presenting again their CAR-T ovarian cancer therapy at the Society for Immunotherapy of Cancers, or SITC annual meeting, which is taking place between November 8th and 12th of this year. So not only is this technology cutting edge, it's differentiated from other players in this space, but it's gaining a ton of attention in the medical community and among the investment community as well. Now with that being said, I wanted to leave you with this slide here, which talks about some near-term milestones or catalysts for Anixa, you guys. So you can see broken out into their various different programs. Their breast cancer vaccine phase 1A trial is fully enrolled with data expected to come out in December of this year. Full phase 1 clinical data is expected to release in Q2 of next year. Their CAR-T program, they've got preliminary data coming out in November of this year, and additional periodic data being released upon enrollment. Their ovarian cancer vaccine, they're initiating their IND-enabling studies and filing their IND application. And their COVID-19 therapeutics, again, have a number of key milestones on the horizon. Now, in terms of the shareholder or corporate goals, they're raising their visibility, market cap, and liquidity. They're diversifying their investor base and the number of people who are aware of this technology through some of those big presentations we just talked about. And they're focused on maintaining that conservative or slow cash burn profile we talked about in the intro. So for those reasons, you guys, I definitely think this one is worth a closer look if you're looking for exposure to the biotech space. Anixa has a number of key differentiators in my opinion, and I'd be super curious to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. Now with that being said, if you're still watching the video at this point in time, hopefully you found some value, so make sure you hit the like button. And if you're not currently subscribed to the channel, McNallie Money, feel free to do so. That's all for now. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.